Yeah, welcome to part two of our breakdown of Sarah from New York, also known as Michelle, who's here. Um, and if you check out part one, we went over kind of the view from the sky. We talked about the location and her extracurriculars and kind of what I look at in the real order. So now here in part two, though, it's going to get real writer nerdy. I'm going to be reading and breaking down both Sarah's personal statement as well as her top Yale supplements, or basically her full application, going really in depth on kind of the nitty gritty, just like I would do with real students. And I encourage people to check it out because we're filming this after I already did it. I go in, like, I don't know. You can see writer Mattie. I'm excited. Sound good, Michelle?
Can't wait.
Okay, Michelle. So now what I'm going to do is go through the personal statement and then the Yale supplements kind of as I would, which is having read the whole thing or no idea. I have my general idea about the essay, which is that it's okay. The personal statement, it's okay, but I feel like it doesn't use the best of its like word count, I suppose. And it's hard to get a great view of what the student really represents outside of that they like art. So I guess now I go through it, and I guess you'll role play a little bit here if possible. Is like you're kind of the student. I can kind of be explaining my views on it. And I said that was like this essay is okay. Like it's well written, I suppose, in that I like the writing style. It's mostly about the topic that would actually go through. So we start with a window into the soul. For most people, this would be the eyes. The eyes cannot lie. They often tell more about a person's emotions than their words. What distinguishes a fake smile from a genuine one? The eyes. What shows sadness? The eyes. What gives the lie away? The eyes. But are the eyes the only window into the soul? Okay, so this is a very flowy, I suppose, like almost poetry-like opening. It's why you read the whole application. I don't get like poet from this student, and nothing about the extracurriculars say poet.
Right.
We did not end up using it, but we looked at the Stanford one, and I realized she just wrote a poem in one of them. So
Yes.
like that's where I talk about the problem of like why you stay focused about like backing up your major, FLL. It is like about like she's not. This is what unfocused can look like. Unfortunately, it's like this is like why spiky is better. If it was just like I tighten I code out I don't know any like the command line reads green. I solved it. You know, like okay, like you know what you're getting into. This is a coding essay. I think yeah, like having read the extracurriculars of this girl, like it's certainly a strange introduction for a girl who seems to be like hardcore coding and makes an app about bullying, I guess.
Right.
And almost certainly is if yeah, it's like you're pretending to be this Sarah girl is like where's the bullying? Like why'd you build a bullying app? Like that was
And I didn't talk about art in any of my extracurriculars.
yeah, and it's also I guess reading this essay in a literary sense this is extremely literary and it's about eyes. The eyes cannot lie. We're seeing the fake software genuine one. The eyes, which was that it's the eyes because eyes. I expect this to be an essay that is heavily talking about eyes. So like maybe we can table that is it's like okay if you're gonna like motifs and theming devices. I'm okay with them. I rarely do them with my students because they're usually more trouble than they're worth. This is something that I'll do. Like this is 61 words that does not say much about the student, or it's kind of pretty, I guess. But that's a tenth of this essay that's spent on this introduction that does not. It neither says anything about a student nor really prepares me for a story that's about to come. What it does do is like as a writer, it's like okay, the eyes are here. It's like so we'll see where that goes, I guess. There we go. Recently, I began painting with watercolors. With watercolors, there's no turning back. If one section is too dark, it's nearly impossible to lighten the area again. Every stroke must be done purposefully, every color mixed to its exact value. Comma's weird here, but shouldn't this be like a semicolon? Yeah. This is the nerdy part, but no, like I'd probably go dash like that. Every color mixed to its exact value. Okay. There's no turning back. One section. So now there's a watercolor essay, and this is probably where I would bring up the idea is like, okay, so you're an artist, and
Right.
and yes, and I go, all right, well, you have again, not mentioned in the extracurriculars. That's why I look at those first, and it's like, well, do you plan to address those in your application? They probably say, and I ask like, do you plan to submit like an artist statement? And they go, yeah, and it's like, well, are you applying art? And then the answer is no. And then I'll explain what I go back to is like that's a little tricky because there are artists applying to all these top universities that are, and I'd offer to look at your stuff, by the way. And no matter how much I liked it, I'd say it was really good because that's, but that's where this would go. And I'd already be kind of like hinting at the idea that I don't know if that's the right idea with this topic, because you're in, yeah, like in doing so, you are trying to push your way into, like, again, the most elite schools in America against students that are applying art and are artists, and likely have if there's no extracurriculars on your profile already, then likely there are other artists out there that are more, at least more accomplished, that are more further along. So it's like trying to enter another realm that doesn't really apply to your game, and one in which you're not even that strong in the first place. And that's
Right.
where I would be kind of saying, is like, why the art, and not to mention like slash art is probably the most common secondary thing, especially for girl applicants at these top schools. Like, I just see it all the time. I laid my materials before me, preparing myself for the worst. I checked my list of supplies, making sure my setup was perfect. I wet my brush, dipped it in some yellow ochre, and dabbed off the excessive paint. Too little water on my brush. I dipped my brush back into the trusty water jar. The colors swirled beautifully, forming an abstract art piece before my eyes. Oh, okay. It's a shame that I couldn't appreciate it. Yeah, so it's I think a lot about efficiency, and eventually I'll show my actual essays with students that we worked on. And again, we are now 176 words in. We're coming up on a third done, and
We still don't
like
know very much.
there, we don't. Yes, we like, there's the prelude about the eyes, and she spent basically another 115 words here, basically saying that she dipped her brush in a thing and made some paint, and she likes watercolors.
Yes.
It's about efficiency, and yeah, there's nothing. I think, yeah, too little water in my brush. I dipped my brush back into my trusty water jar. The water swirled beautifully, forming an abstract art piece before my eyes. This is a great example of like the five senses of writing, and you can link back to like that is. I'm an anti five senses guy. Like, yes, you are. What did you see, smell, hear, touch, all that? That is like the exact type of line that breeds from that. However, it's not very. It's a long way to say is like, yes, I dipped my brush into the water jar. It's a shame I couldn't appreciate the colors. Yeah, like, get right to this. It's a shame I couldn't appreciate it. The colors were beautifully forming an abstract art piece before my eyes. This is just a wasted sentence, in my opinion. It's not. There's nothing wrong with it, and it's fairly pretty, I guess, but it does not go anywhere towards better explaining like who you are, what your interests are, and like how that will make you a better student. Like the real goals here. And it's lines like that, like this would get cut in or greatly shortened this paragraph as well in my edits. I continue mixing colors to their exact value. More alizarian crimson, more water, more yellow ochre, less water, more fento blue. The cycle continued. Similar idea. It's showing, like this is showing, but it's not telling, I guess. Eventually, I was satisfied. The colors looked good. There was enough contrast between facial features, and the watercolor stayed within the lines. Craving feedback, I posted my art to Snapchat. I got a few messages that says, "Wow," and "pretty," but one message stood out. "You were anxious with this one, huh? Anyways, love the hair." I call them like the two A's. It's anxious and arrogant. This is like a side rant. I believe that anxious and arrogant are the two features or personality traits that I think sink the most college applications of all. It's anxious for girls and arrogant for boys. And this one's personal because I also, many years ago, had a student who she was from New York, actually. It was not her. It's not a different person. But was a slash artist who was like struggled with anxiety. And I've worked with a lot of high achieving girls applying to schools, often from the Northeast, and there's a certain type of personality that tends to fit into that.
Right.
You do not want to express that aspect of it, and that might seem kind of like cold or messed up, I guess. But this one's personal, and it's not because you pick this one on your own, but I worked with a girl earlier in my career who this reminds me of quite a bit, and I fell into a lot of the same traps that now I'm noticing here, and you can see I'm getting kind of cringy about it because the results weren't great.
Is that like, I guess, what we were talking about, the red flags? Is this one of your landmines?
Yeah, and yes, anxious for girls, arrogant for guys. I also don't recommend you flip them, but those two are poison, I guess. And nothing about this essay necessarily says anxious to me so far. It says that she's kind of flowy and artist type, but you dropped the word anxious in this one. Obviously, now that you
Right.
were anxious with this one, huh? I anyways love the hair, which I guess is almost. I'm not sure that would not have been my takeaway from like how she expresses the works before, right? She's just kind of. It's like it's a shame that I couldn't appreciate it, but that's more foreshadowing. I guess that's the foreshadowing that she didn't appreciate the work she was doing. It's a little. It's a lot. There's not an. This isn't cohesive enough to drop a line like you were anxious with this one. I'm not entirely sure why that would be the response or where this is supposed to be going. And like this is the type of stuff I really focus on is like paragraph structure. Is like everything making sense based on the paragraphs before it. And this makes enough sense, I guess. Like you can keep going, but like anxious. Ooh, when you said this to me before, I read this one. Okay. I was caught off guard. Was it a lucky guess? Did they know something I didn't? I immediately responded, "Ha ha! How could you tell?" No response. What I didn't know at the time was that my response would come a few months later while babysitting. Since the girl I was babysitting loved art, I took out some Crayola watercolors and some watercolor paper for her to play with. After I went to the bathroom and came back, the watercolors were doused with water. You were impatient with this one. Uh huh. Anyways, love the little dog you drew. And we came back, the color codes. Uh, I, Michelle, do you know who's saying this? Like you were impatient with this? Fake Sarah.
No, I was
Yeah,
confused when I first
yeah.
read
So
it
this is why I
too.
like having a student there. Is I often my sickest burn is like I just ask questions like that, like who's saying this,
Right.
because it is unclear to me whether it is the little girl or boy, yeah, the girl you're babysitting, or if this is now a reference to another like Snapchat
Comment or
message.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my guess is it's more logical. It would be, but it wouldn't be that logical for a little child to be like, you were impatient on this one, eh, Buckaroo? Like
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, love the dog. Yeah, it's the same formatting, so it would assume that these little things are what I pick up, and I'm so because this is where people check out. Like things like this is
Yes.
and they may not know that's why they're checking out, but it's like they're confused. Like this is a confusing line because but it is the formatting is the same as up here was a Snapchat message, but the actual logical deduction is that and I went to the bathroom and came back, the watercolors were doused with water. But that doesn't make sense because it's the child themselves who would seem to be making, or maybe it's them talking to the child, I guess. This is why I would have the child. I would have, excuse me, have Sarah here being like we need to fix that because I still don't know. The little girl looked. Oh, so I guess the little girl looked at me confused. How could you? Okay, so now it's more obvious that you were talking to the little girl. However, this needs to come beforehand. It's like I looked. Yeah, it's like I why would you say that to a little? This is where people check out because even and then I would go, oh, I see it, and then I would almost certainly edit it to be like, yeah, it's like I decided to like remark upon the work she completed, like yeah, like I was a Snapchatter, you know. Yeah. The little girl looked at me confused. How could you tell? You used a lot of water for a brighter color, but you couldn't wait for it to slowly soak in. Oh, now I would be lying if I said if I said I realized the connection between the two events immediately. So I don't like dialogue in essays. You can go back into like my writing, my intro to writing stuff. Is this one's not too bad, I guess, but it's like, did you really have this? Did this really happen? Did you really have a
Yeah.
full conversation with like a little like 2-year-old
When I
girl?
first read that, that was the first thing I was going to wonder if you were
Yeah,
going to say something about that.
now it's
Yeah.
changing. I talked about it being confused. It was like, were you really roasting? Like, because that's often what I do is like I make it make sense. It's like you're roasting or like you're a troll on Snapchat. But it's like I don't believe like that's not really a conversation. It's why that's kind of it doesn't make much sense why you would roast a little girl about her
Right.
writing in the same way that it's almost kind of mean spirited, I guess. Like you're making her you were impatient with this one, like you're roasting. Yeah, like you are. It's like when the meme of like the dad yelling at the kid who yells at the dog. Like it's my takeaway from this is it's like, oh, like you were made insecure by someone throwing shade at your work on Snapchat, and then you do it to the girl, and like that's not great. I don't know. Like and this is kind of how I edit with students. Is like maybe I'm totally wrong. However, it's now on like this is how someone who doesn't know better is just going to read it. All right. So use a lot of water for brighter color, but you couldn't wait for it to slowly soak in. Oh, yeah, like hurt that little girl's feelings. Now, I would be lying if I said I realized the connection between the two events immediately. I This is only me in post, like really digging through it, but I don't really understand. Like when you were just reading it to me before, I don't really know what the connection is. That like I guess the connection is that someone was mean to her and she was mean to the child. But instead, I made the connection when I decided to sit down one day and objectively critique my art. piece that I once loved now seemed like a nervous wreck. The paper was overworked. The brushstrokes were undecided. The facial features blended together, and each drop of water was bound inside the lines. It was a prisoner in a cage. From then on, I started noticing pieces of personality and additional creations surrounding me. Website design, solution to math problems, code written for class, in preparation for a meal. So I'm lost now, Michelle. Do you know what's going on?
No, I got a little bit confused here too. And I also just am wondering like the nervous wreck. Now that's tying back to the anxious. So now we've got like multiple landmines and
This is what I talk about is like my number one criticism of student work is that I don't understand what's going on, and I often can get really in the weeds about what I think is going on, and maybe just like in this is all for a student who goes like, oh yeah, what should I do then? But yeah, is instead now I was like, this is supposed to be I imagine like a bold like reflective line, but I don't understand what she's connecting, and then it's not really clarified here as well. And then we all go back as like the eye stuff, like it's
yeah,
completely
I
yeah,
think
like
she's finally trying to connect it back to the very beginning.
yeah, it's like that's
But
my that's why I like expose caution when trying to start with something like using a metaphor for like eyes being a window into the soul is at best like it could be effective. I don't think it's at best like it eats words and like it's kind of neat if you can pull it off, but at worst is like it doesn't connect well enough, and it's just it's she's not able to back up like this kind of idea, especially with the word count. So much of my work with students is simplifying and just adding context. And like she does, there's some paragraphs where she does that, where she'll just write, yeah, just lines like I took out some Crayola watercolors and watercolor for her to play with, and I went to the bathroom, came back, the watercolors were doused with water. Like this is like, this makes sense. It's her just explaining what's going on. And I had like a side remark on the worksheet completed, like I was a Snapchatter. like that's lines like that are important where it's explaining like why are you doing this. So yeah, it's like this essay is kind of falling apart, and yes, this is like a very critical way to take it. But what's actually going to happen is most people reading this will kind of start checking out around now because like it's like she likes art. I don't know. Now I would like if I said I realized the connection right instead of make a connection, I sat it down. Yeah, from then on, I started noticing pieces of personality and additional creations surrounding me. Website design, solution to math problems, code written for class, even the preparation for a meal. I don't understand. This is the line that I would say like this needs to make more sense because I don't this is kind of like the moment of reflection, I suppose, where there's the and yeah, she's trying to build an arc where it's like basically you are a certain way, something happens to you that causes reflection, and now you are different,
right.
and this is a piece of it where she wrote, but I don't understand what her reflection is nor how that would logically lead to her being her changes. Yeah, like the closest that I could get, and like I have to fill in the blanks here, is that she was critical to a little child in the same way someone was to her because she's like anxious or has like I guess like mental health issues. Honestly, the face that I once loved now seemed like a nervous wreck. The paper was overworked. The brushstrokes were undecided. The facial features blended together. Each drop of water was bound outside lines as it was a prisoner in a cage. Yeah, like this paragraph is like she's anxious. I don't know. And again, like I don't. This one's a little bit personal because this really hits on notes of a student who just simply did not get into the schools that she wanted to, and most students before I met you are the ones that I'll be like, yeah, it didn't work out because I change things after that. When it doesn't work out, I don't do things like that again. That's why they become such hard rules for me because I got burned on the stove. When I peer around at people's projects during Code Club, I notice the clear differences between their code. Some people break it up by commenting in every possible section. Other breeze through the project, not caring to comment or organize their code. Now we're kind of in like the getting your stuff in section, which I'm not super opposed to. I think if your essay's done well, it's a bit redundant. Like it's called getting your essay in or getting your shit in paragraph. It's just I don't know. I'm lost, and this is not me trying to troll. I generally don't understand what has happened and what her new takeaway. And often just having a paragraph where she like really just explains it, like I learned something today. Those paragraphs can be effective. And there's not me trolling. Like what she's talking about here, like why what's different in Code Club.
Okay. She's trying to say that it's not just the eyes that are a window into the soul. Now she's teaching us what she's learned through the Code Club, that there's other things that she's learned she can find out about people. I guess. I think.
When I peer out, from then on, I started noticing pieces of personality, additional creations surrounding me. Website design. I started noticing pieces of personality. Okay, and additional creations surrounding me. Okay, so her takeaway is that I guess the part of this is that like she was able to like she's able to she's like an empath for work. I guess is that just the way that someone was correct by her. Okay, someone was able to see her art and figure out she was anxious. She was able to tell that this little girl she was babysitting was impatient. So she's saying that from the final product of creators, you can see their intuitive thing, which probably links back to the eye stuff because so work is a window into the soul
Yes.
of okay. And I would explain to her is I have spent like a half hour on this and like I'm like posting it for a podcast and I'm a crazy person who like loves close reading things and like likes proving I can figure it out. You're gonna get like 4 minutes when you're actually applying to schools and they're not gonna pick
That's
this up,
so,
bro.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, is like that's how I had to deduce this with you. Yeah, and that's what. But like, I guess the idea is somewhat sound. But like, there needs to be a lot more building that makes it much more obvious that is what you're trying to say. Because
I was gonna say, like, would you keep this draft and workshop it with her, or would you just have her start completely over?
it would depend what you wanted to do. I suppose now that like I would work with her to figure out like that was the core aspect of it. I would cut out all the stuff about being anxious or miserable. Yeah, like that's one. And this essay doesn't need that. Like it doesn't. You don't need to be anxious in your work. I guess you could just change it to like yeah, like you were feeling like yeah, you were feeling silly with this one, right? Yeah. Anyway, love the hair. Like the I guess the idea is actually kind of interesting to me now that I understand it, and I probably would like the eyes window and the soul thing. I get it. I'd probably still scratch it because it's also a cliche. Like eyes being a window into the soul, a window into a soul is a cliche in of itself. But the idea, if that's really what, and yeah, yeah, yes, I would probably still have a right about the bullying stuff, like 'cause
I was gonna
bullying,
say, yeah.
like that's still has to be like right but about the app you made about bullying. What are your thoughts on that? So I hear that's yeah, yes, but now that I understand that, yeah, I guess I get it, but that's another problem with just trying to like this is a high concept essay that I did not understand until I really tried to dig into it. And a high concept essay is an essay in which you are trying to achieve more, trying to showcase or achieve more than simply that you're a good student who would fit in. Like you are trying to achieve this larger understanding of what art is and what creation is as it relates to the soul of the creator. Um, yeah, and also how like it's interesting. I don't know, but like none of this was picked up. It's just like I didn't pick it up the first time you read it, and it took and and
Right.
okay, so then we finish up with when I pierced at people's. I hate the word people's projects during code club. I noticed a clear difference between their code. Some people break it up by commenting in every possible section. Others breeze through the project, not caring to comment or organize their code. I could also see clear differences in the personalities when our club members began coding the Arduino for the first time. Some followed the tutorials to the letter, while others immediately started experimenting with different colored LEDs and ways of wiring the circuit. It became clear to me that as humans, we leave pieces of our souls in everything we do more than we intend to. If we entertain this thought, perhaps the key to better understand others around us is simply noticing the subtler cues under our noses. Perhaps there are endless windows of the soul, and we simply need to peer through them. Right. So like she comes back in with the soul stuff. I get it. Yeah, I'm sure someone will be like, yeah, if you just read it, she explains all of it. But that's not how people read, unfortunately. Like the way people read essays is that they need if they're confused by high concepts as they're reading, they're just going to check out. It's like I did near the end. And like, yes, it became mainly as humans, we leave pieces of our souls in everything we do more than we intend to. This line we would need to move up and build upon because this is basically the thesis of the essay.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, like I get it. But also it's kind of neat, but also there, this is me writing. This is me going. I'm going for it. Uh, the end of this essay, even now that I understand what is going on, it needs to be much more like this isn't about her. I suppose I could see the clear differences in personalities when our club members began coding Arduino for the first time. Some follow the tutorials and letters, while others immediately start experimenting with different colored LEDs and ways of wiring the circuit. Yeah, like this is an entire paragraph that's not about her. I think if we were to rejigger this, a lot of this content, if this is what you want to go with, would come up earlier in the essay when she's figuring this out. But then we would need to address what she has this revelation. What does it say about her? That
Yes.
is what this essay is missing in a very key way. I think that she is actually almost somewhat a bystander in this essay and by itself. That she is the one. I like agency, and especially my personal statements. But in this essay, the only agency she really has is like kind of like trolling a baby, and then noticing something, like making a connection, which is okay. But also, like and I guess like painting in of itself. But she's the one who gets called out on Snapchat. Someone else comes like tells her that. Then it's her just like noticing what other people do.
Yeah, I was
And,
gonna say it's just like observations she's making.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot of observations, and those observations are okay. but I would bring those up much earlier. Yeah, like this whole section with the code club or what have you. Maybe instead, like I kind of like the babysitting a little bit once I understand it. But like, yes, that is her coming to the recollection about like what art and just creation means by the like to the creator. But this now needs an entire different third section where we now translate that to like how have you grown? You know, like demonstrating growth in an essay.
Right.
It is not. It is not, and again, we're already slashing all the stuff about like being anxious because no, thank you, no, thank you. You can demonstrate growth in an essay. It doesn't have to be, you know, like I was anxious or I was insecure or I was any of these bad things and now I'm better. But it could just be like I learned something and that changed my view. And now I act differently. And I guess workshopping is that, well, now I'd probably like what if it goes the other way, right? So you're saying that like you could tell if someone is confident or how they're feeling through their work. Well, what have you? I'd ask, like, have you tried making work that insinuates that you're confident? You know, it's like, can we go the other way? And they go, what do you mean? And I go, okay, hold on, let me try again. Yeah, that would just be my idea. Is like, okay, it's about agency. How have you taken this concept, which is pretty interesting, I suppose? How have you tried to apply that to improve yourself or to better, again, like with your own work? And fake Sarah, what do you think about that? Have you considered it?
Yeah, no, it does make a lot of sense, especially when you said to move that one line, like that's the thesis. So that makes so much more sense. And to just cut out a lot of like the descriptive story stuff. It just it doesn't add anything.
Right. Okay, so that's a personal statement. Say, ooh, ooh, ooh. Like, well, it's just so you all know, it's like when I go into writer mode, that's yeah, the engine people. The feedback I've gotten from this show so far is that most people say like you really seem to care a lot about this, and yes, I do. But the writing stuff is like a different level of me. You can see it like that. I write like when you actually see me doing writing, I jump around. It's kind of chaotic, but like that's why it's so important for me to have that structure because in lieu of that, like it's I always want to move stuff around to like make it make sense, I guess, and that would be yeah. But the overall takeaway is there's a lot we could do with it. I don't know, this is less more like a critique of it in general, or like it's more that what I see actually going through it and what I would want to do with a real student if we had the time to adjust it. And yeah,
Right.
and yes, this might, and quite honestly, this might work better as a supplement. I think the takeaway is pretty interesting now that I had to dig out and find it. I think it might fit better as a 250 or 400 word essay and then leaving that sweet room for your bullying app because like, I've never, like, you got to have bullying takes, Sarah. If you wrote an app about it, and it doesn't mean you were bullied, but yeah. Okay, so now we move on to the Yale supplements again. And I guess something that's important when I'm reading the supplements is the question is also important as well as the answer, if only because the question basically is the title, I suppose, for the question. And I tend to be a bit of a stickler for making sure that the answer actually matches the question. If only so far as if you don't, these schools tend to, I suspect they think that you just like reuse an essay for another school. So you don't want to have that. And the best way to avoid that is for the question to be good. So it's intellectual interest. Why are you drawn to the areas of study you indicate early in application? You may share with us a skill or concept that you found challenging or willing to learn, or any experience beyond coursework that you have borne your interest. And I go, when I took my first computer science class in ninth grade, I was captivated. I learned how to write a method, an if statement, and a while loop. However, I truly became interested in the class when we started creating projects. Unlike the 2D art I loved dearly, there were mini puzzles which, upon solving, served a task. So the good news is we're at least getting some computer science here and like intellectual interest. If this was not about computer science, we were gonna have a big problem. Or
Yeah.
I would, yeah. So that's good. And the personal statement doesn't have to be about computer science, so that's okay. You know, it's like I would if I in that bullying app though. Like, let's count down to bullying app. It's kind of how I feel about these questions.
I
We'll
know.
keep moving forward. However, I soon realized that computer science and art weren't mutually exclusive. Okay, with computer science, not only can I create something beautiful, but my creation served a purpose. It had functionality. Where does art? Wait, unlike the 2D art I love dearly, these were mini puzzles which one serving. Yeah, like she's bringing art back into this, and I mean, sure, skill. Yeah, I guess what she is setting up is that this like that she really is an artist or a computer scientist slash artist. Which she tries to do in her personal statement, because she brings in the coding class, like, but it's much more. It still just reads like those are two things that she does. There are ways to combine computer science and art. I'm not sure it's a methodology I'm going to want to do a ton because it's just very common. It's CS slash art for especially female students is like it's hard to stand out with that combination because there's a lot. But it's not like it's not terrible in itself.
Right.
This realization was supplemented by my experience with Built by Girls, a program that pairs high school students with professionals in the city to learn more about the tech industry. I was paired with a graphic designer at Huffington Post who introduced me to UI UX design. She worked side by side with web developers at the company. She created the vision, and the web developers brought it to life. Beauty and function, these are the words to describe computer science. This reads, I guess, like an extracurricular, like this type of thing that like I imagine you would put out more with her. Like, not
right.
Is that correct? Yeah, and then that's not me trying to like dunk on you. The format where this fits better is in like additional information, or in your actual extracurricular sheet.
Yes.
This yeah, I guess I wouldn't fake Sarah here, as I would be like, okay, so the closest I get is that you have a connection between art and computer science in this. It's like, why are you drawing the areas indicated? Yeah, it's like, why, and this whole paragraph doesn't answer why. It's how, as well as it's just kind of like, she works side by side with developers and companies. She created the vision and the web developers brought it to life. I don't like this said. This doesn't make it to the final because this is not about her. Like, you do not give shout out. Yeah. There's no room to be. I joke the Huffington Post lady isn't applying to college, and it's double because there's a meta aspect. It's a waste of space. Like, they don't care, but also there's like, talk about the red flags or red mines. They go, it's not about you. You did it wrong, and like that sounds so mean. However, when you get the people who are reading like 60,000 of these, or like 500 a day, they get kind of cranky and bitter because it's 4 a.m. and like they're kind of tired too, and like they that's what happens. Like they have the same takeaway, and like they overly punish for that. So I would need to like this. I would drill down with Sarah here about like this segment. It's like, if you really want to do art/CS, we need to focus on that. Like, what about art and CS interests you? Because you hint at it here, but like there's very little like meat to it. So like that's what should go here instead. And then what is about Yale's led you to apply? Like many other students, I was drawn to Yale's unique residential system, which allows students to experience both the intimacy of a small school and the resource of a large school. Just by definition, if you begin any essay with like many other students.
I thought the same thing. Oh my gosh.
Like, by definition, if that's how you start, you might want to reconsider your answer.
Yes. That should be a pro tip.
Yeah, pro tip for all you on TikTok and the gram. Like, this is coming at you. In addition, I appreciate the way Yale structures their academic requirements. Since there aren't specific classes, but rather categories of classes you must take, that gives flexibility with course selection while ensuring students broaden their worldview. Okay, so this is like I call it like, this is formatted incorrectly. It's like everything used to be like I want to do this, I want to do that.
Yes.
This at best reads what I call like a pamphlet essay, where it's like Yale structures academic structure, provides flexibility with course selection while ensuring students broaden their worldview. Anything that sounds like it comes from a pamphlet is like not good. Mm-hmm. And I think the actual ideas are like a little generic, I guess, but more so it's like I would like you have hit down. It's like, why do you care? And an entire big time like Y school essay show is coming that you'll be just as involved with. But like, this ain't it, like there's a reason we do it. I would drill down. It's like, I also love that Yale focuses on combining different fields of study. I see with the program computing and the arts. I'm still unsure if I'd pick in the program. However, I know that if I'm ever decide to pursue art along with computer science, I could do so at Yale. I bet you're just giggling compared to how like the type of Y schools I like for this 125.
Totally, yeah.
I
was like, girl, I need to show you how to do some research here.
We might bring this one back, and just like the tone, right? Where it's like, I'm not sure if I'll partake in the program. Where it's
Why did you put that in there then?
We'll save the Y school criticisms for a more formal.
That would be this is a great example.
Mm-hmm. I think we'll bring up our own. It's a little bit more going on. Think about an idea or topic that has been intellectually exciting for you. Why are you drawn to it? How do you bring a game to life? Sound effects, beautiful design, intricate storylines, and dynamic characters definitely make a game interesting and fun to play. They keep the player wanting more. Yet, how do you make the player feel involved? Like they're a piece of the story. I would just change this to like, how does one? I never like the word "you" and just in general because it's confusing. Because one person's going to read this, you're a missions reader. So like you is almost like you're writing them a letter. It's complicated. The answer most people think of as improving is the storyline and the characters. The story should be well developed and ugly told. The characters should be relatable and developed over the course of the story. The answer not many think of is changing the interface of the game. Complicated, clunky controls only remind the player that they are playing the game. Ruining the immersion if utilized correctly. The user interface can even add to the player's experience to send across a message. In a text-based game called Depression Quest, the player plays a depressed protagonist and makes day-to-day choices in his life. Based on the protagonist's mental health status, certain choices are crossed out of the screen. Due to this unique choice of the user interface, the player sees a certain option on the screen, but they feel powerless and they cannot. This essay is really bad. I try not to be like a blind hater, and I poke a little fun, but like this essay is terrible because it's not about her at all, I suppose. That that's what I say. Is like I don't. This essay is Depression Quest isn't applying to college.
Exactly.
This one needs a complete tonal and structural rewrite because you would need to be every essay is about you, students. It's very important. And um, this girl made a game. Maybe that's why I'm extra flustered about this one. Like this is the closest to like the work she's actually done. I imagine she has some game dev work. Did she mention any of that in her EC list?
She does.
Yeah. So this essay is such a bummer and a missed opportunity because also she needs to use the hyphens better. But yeah, like this essay is not about her at all. Like lines the story should be well developed and elegantly told. The characters should be relatable and developed over the course of the study. Like, why do you? Who's saying that? It's like why do you believe that? There's so many just the right. The answer not many think of is changing the user interface of the game. Complicated, clunky controls only mind the player they're playing game, ruining the immersion. If you like probably the user interface can even add like this doesn't matter. Like this is just writing about like what this is writing about like game design in general. We're as readers gleaning absolutely nothing about the actual student or their interest or what game design means to them. Like the lack of yeah, it makes it so I don't really know what this essay is even about. So due to the senior choice in the user interface, the player sees a certain option on the screen, but they feel powerless as they cannot choose it. It shows the player that a simple decision for them may not even be a choice for someone with a mental illness. This makes the player realize just how helpless and irritated some people with mental illnesses may feel. Game development requires more moving parts than one might think, making it a fascinating topic. Yeah, this essay, at best, like it means nothing. At worst, it just has the word mental health and mental illnesses in it and makes me nervy reading it because I don't like that kind of stuff. I think this essay is real bad. And maybe I say that saying that. I mean, I kind of poke fun at the other one because it's like so different. But like this essay has like core structural issues in it that. So I'm surprised she also wrote this because the rest of them are at least formatted pretty well.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
Yeah. And if you're going to bring up, don't bring up mental health. I just don't recommend it. But also, like, if you're going to, this is not. Also, you need to italicize Depression Quest. By the way, I've played Depression Quest. I know Vidya kind of thing. This is just not. It's not it. It's not it. We would scratch it entirely. I gently place my fingers on the keyboard and start typing some code that I learned more minutes ago. I scratch my chin. This might be a little hard to fetch. I don't think I can use this word for the workshop either, I thought to myself, sighing. I'd already spent 3 hours trying to come up with an idea for the next workshop for Code Club. Not only did it need to be interesting for the students, but also it had to be easy and quick enough to teach a 40-minute period. Additionally, it should teach practical coding skills the members could use later in life. Eventually, I set out an idea to start typing up the workshop. This was the process nearly every weekend. Why was I doing it? Seeing all the projects the students create brings me joy. Educational games, silly websites. I try my best every Wednesday to teach the students in a simple manner, being careful to guide them without spoon-feeding them. When the students inevitably trick out of class before 4 p.m., the sudden change in ambience is unnerving. A room once filled with noisy teachers is suddenly empty and quiet. However, this unnerving feeling tells me I have achieved what I set out to do for the day. Teach them, get them excited, make them smile, and give them something to look forward to the next meeting. This one is like, I guess, it's weird that these are back to back. These feel like different writers wrote them. Like that's my big takeaway. Like this one is jarring in. It generally feels like different writers or certainly like different editors were involved with these because they're like this they're very differently written and also this one you agree with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is like the problem in this application because this one goes back to being I think this is much more similar to I think of my overall takeaway on the application and this is okay. There's nothing instinctively wrong with it, but it's kind of there's not much going on, and I think it's not enough about her and her opinions and how she views the world. I like little kid essays. I like tutoring essays. The reason I keep looking in the corners, by the way, is your face is in the bottom left-hand corner. For those wondering why I keep peeking over there. But like this one is more similar to my other ones. Is that I like little kid tutoring essays. However, especially for a school like Yale at the top level, you need to offer more than I have achieved what I said over the day. To get them excited, make them smile, and give them something to look forward to for the next meeting. That's just too safe, I guess. Mm-hmm. This one I feel pretty confident that I could help Sarah here rewrite this one to it still be about because you're a further engagement in the community which belong. How do you feel to the community? I've done dozens, if not hundreds of like tutoring or teaching essays in my career because I'm a fan of them, and there's a lot more that can be brought up here. It's like, well, why? Like, well, sometimes it's asking like what, how, and why do you teach them, get them excited, make them smile? Like this last paragraph is what is much more interesting than everything else that's above it.
So she had the right idea.
Yeah. It's much more of the same that somewhere like I wouldn't say, like the actual general idea of the topic is somewhat sound, if not the most exciting, I suppose. But how it's handled is not doing any favors. And then often the short answer is I often like what inspires you. There are girls I met at Code with Clossy. Not all of them wanted to pursue a career in computer science. They were all able to learn, supportive, and gave meaningful praise to one another. I guess that's okay. I don't know. It's usually you use these to kind of bolster out your application. So like I do them in reverse order of longest to shortest is how I help students with these. We often kind of just these are often where I just kind of get a little creative or repurpose other essays that we did for other schools to make a short version.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's hard to win or lose an application on these short answers, I guess. But I would want something a little bit more, either more interesting or just like because again, like this is almost the same answer as the one before. It's like the students they met doing code club is the same answer. I would push her. Also, where's the goddamn bullying essay? Where is it? Where is it? You made an app.
It has not shown up anywhere.
You made an app about bullying. You made an app to stop bullying, and it's nowhere.
What an award!
She won an award. Yeah. That would be my big twist. Is like, where's the bullying? And then yes, I would be bullying her about the bullying essay. I believe that is, it's been okay. Yale's registered school autism has a guest. What person, past president, would you invite to speak? Bailey Silk, what advice would they give to children that think they're too young to follow their dreams? Dance teacher starting dancing at age 2 and became choreographer at 14. Oh, is this who Bailey Salk is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is also you spell 0 to 9, you do 10 or higher written out. It's just like the age of 2 looks like childish. So yeah, don't do that. This is the answer is like okay. I would format this differently, like more polite, I suppose. Like Bailey Song, a dance teacher who who started at age 2 and was a choreographer by 14. I'd ask what advice they give a child who are too young to follow their dreams. Like that's like, this is just formatted very awkwardly. But it's the idea is okay. It's dance. You were teaching about starting out with watercolor. It's fascinating how much you must consider. Very rarely do you want to be using the word you in a college application. This is a general idea. It's almost always I. I's the best. Like it's I's or one. If you is only used like in the weird pen essay where you have to write a letter to somebody, well as the Stanford essay where you write it to your roommate. That's when you use you because it is a literal letter you're writing to someone, second person. Otherwise, it should be fascinating how much I consider before starting watercolors, pigments, brushes, paper, cold habits. I would probably poo-poo this one because it's the same topic as your personal statement. It's like we already talked about watercolor in there. I'd mostly be noting that there's just not enough STEM in the STEM application. I would definitely want some more of these short answers to be STEMmy because you need to be filling it out. Currently, the only this is a CS applicant. The only CS is talking about how much she likes it, straight up, and then. Yeah, and then I guess and then there's an essay about game design that we totally redo, so that's where it could go. But as is, there's not very much that showcases how or why this girl loves computer science, who's applying computer science for top schools.
Right, she organized whole hackathons and...
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah.
Most first-year Stalins live on suites of 4 people. What do you hope to add to your suitemates experience? What do you hope they add to yours? I hope to introduce Indian suites and masala chai, listen to problems they have, be a great friend. I hope they will introduce political views, treat others with kindness and respect. Yeah, that's a good answer. I like it. It's fine. But that's the type of essay, in an application, they're not asking for the goal. You could make this STEMmy or what have you. This would be fine. This is fine. But it similarly kind of matches the overall vibe where I just think the space could be used better. This in a different application, I would have been fine with this. I guess it's more, you still could use a lot. Yeah, this one's good. I don't know. Keep it fine. I don't know. But yeah, I think that, I guess going over the whole application now, my overall thoughts, I guess, are maybe a little bit more clear, but also there's certainly more. It's funny how when I do an application, I usually have initial thoughts very quickly. And then the deeper I go into it, the more I tend to agree with my initial thoughts. I just can articulate better why and be more detailed about what problems I'm seeing. Then that leads to going and fixing it, there's nothing in this application that is unfixable. And even if she wanted to keep a lot of the same topics, I would absolutely make her do the bullying essay. That is my big take. It's where is your
no brainer.
It's unacceptable. That drives me nuts. But in general, if there's an essay about game dev, we could do an essay about game dev. There's an essay about working with little kids. I've done essays about those. I guess in general though, those are a lot of topics that are not the most advanced or really awesome stories I do with students. They're a lot more kind of the fourth UC essays that we do because they did do it. It is true. But then in general, Writer meets different energy. I don't know. Like this is your thoughts, Michelle.
Well, you kind of mentioned how those short takes, they don't really like win or lose you admission. Do you think that depression quest essay could have lost like being admitted to Yale?
I hate that. I am fervently in the camp of do not write about mental health, really in any regard, in any way that could be tailed back to you. This is the one exception would be if like she works in a mental health facilities, if she's helping others, that is fine. Like the concept of mental health is on the table. So it's not like you use the word, but she wrote an essay that is honestly kind of a confusing essay that's just about like here's how game design works, and it's like here's what it means to mental health people. You force someone like me to fill in the blanks, be like, and also partnered with, that's why I read them all the same, partner with like you're anxious doing this painting, little things like that. So I talk about like they bleed through, and like that's why I'm I'm very stringent about it. And I go, no, don't do that, because it would not shock me if the writer of this application did not really consider that a part of her application, her struggles with mental health or bringing it or being part of her story. Well, from what they read, like they mentioned the anxiety in that one, and they mentioned just mental health issues, and like a game called Depression Quest and the other one, and pretty quickly they're gonna make some connections just like I did. So yeah. Okay, Michelle. Yeah, I hope if people thought that was kind of fun, let me know, because I could do this. This is me in writer mode, and I want people to see it, because it's easier for me to be like, oh, you got to back up your major, but it's actually like this is what it's like actually like to work with me, as I'm just like a dog running around like trying to like dig holes and things. Okay, Michelle, great episode. We'll see you next time. We'll do it again.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for watching College with Mattie. For more information or a coaching session with Mattie, visit collegewithmattie.com. You can follow College with Mattie on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Tune in next week for more episodes, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.